So in this fifth video of the series, I thought I'd say a little bit about the hardware that underpins the simulator. So if you want to build a simulator yourself, it'll give you a good feel for what you might want to think about getting, or if you just like gadgets like me, then hopefully you'll enjoy the video. So as I said in the earlier videos, the heart of the simulator is the computer, or in this case, computers. So the main computer, the one that runs all of the main screens and graphics, that runs on an i9, a 9900K. And the K is important because that means that the processor is unlocked and you can change the core speed, which means you can overclock it relatively easily. That runs on an ROG Maximus 11 Hero motherboard, 32 gig of RAM, and an RTX 280 Ti. So the combination of the motherboard and the processor I found to be really stable. It's easy to set up, and more importantly, it's really easy to overclock with just pretty much a single click on the auto overclock. It runs just short of 38% faster than the core CPU clock speed, which really makes the simulator fly. So the second computer runs on an i7 processor, so in this case an i7-6700K. The main board is a Z170A Gaming Pro Carbon motherboard, 16 gig of memory, and in this case, because it's only running the gauges, air traffic control and the weather, it needs a less powerful graphics card, a Zotac 1070. So the main thing you're going to need is some form of control, yoke or stick. So I've got Mad Catz the 5 joystick. It is it's pretty good. It is easy to plug and play, and it works well with both of the simulators. And I've set it up so that I can attach it, you can see here, to the flight chair, so that I can store it away when I'm not using it and just add it and attach it to the flight chair. And I build a frame on the chair made out of a desk stand for a monitor, so that it just clips on and clips off when it's needed. The yoke. So initially I had a Cytec yoke, but I had that for a long time actually, and to be fair, it is a good solid yoke. It's again easy to plug and play, but I recently replaced it with the new Honeycomb yoke. I agonized over whether to buy the new yoke, particularly since you'll see in the next video, which I've called the Honeycomb project, that it resulted in a pretty major, an absolutely major refit and rebuild of the simulator. But I've not looked back. The Honeycomb yoke is really solid. The Cytec yoke tends to have a bit of a null zone, an area in the middle when you're moving the yoke backwards and forwards when the simulator doesn't respond. And also the length of travel on the Cytec yoke is quite restrictive, whereas you can see here on the Honeycomb yoke that it actually has quite a high level of movement, which mirrors much more readily the movement, in my opinion, in the plane. So the other essential piece of equipment I would say is the throttle quadrant. This is again a Cytec, now Logitech quadrant, with the throttle, the propeller pitch and the mixture settings. And finally the pedals. I would say these are not essential. If you've got a joystick, you can use the twist action on the joystick to activate the rudder, but if you're pairing these up with a yoke, I would say that the pedals and the brakes really add value. So over to the panels. This is the Backlit Information Panel. Each light can be individually configured to show which systems are on in the simulator. This is the multi-function, the instrument panel, and this can be configured individually for different gauges. And just below that is the again a Cytec, now Logitech switch panel. To the left of that, the magnetos and the starter switch, batteries, avionics, and fuel pump. Across the bottom, switches for the lights, and a lever for the gear with some lights just alongside it. And I've modified that so that I made different labels so that the switches can be individually configured, and this one's for the 747 if I was flying an airliner, and the original one is for the Piper Tomahawk, which the simulator is built on. And here's the adhesive magnetic sheet, which is really versatile. You can use it for lots of different labels across the simulator. So that's the switch panel, and over the other side of the simulator is the radio panel. So the radio panel's got COM1, COM2, NAV1, NAV2, ADF, DME, and XPDR to check in with air traffic control. And on the other side of that panel, you can adjust the standby frequency, and the button is to transfer between the standby and active. And then just below that is the multi-function panel with the autopilot settings and autopilot switches. There's a throttle setting, a throttle auto switch. Just below that, a lever for the flaps and the trim lever. So those were really the kind of basic modules and panels and the basic controls, and pretty much with any or all of those you will be in a good place to build and expand your simulator. But there are a couple of other things that I think you need to think about. So you need a good pair of headphones. I think that's just a matter of personal choice. I must have tried about 5 or 6 headphones in the time that I've had the simulator. I have finally settled on a pair of Astro 50 wireless headphones. They are really quite versatile. So for me, they work really well because I've got the air traffic control, as I said, on a second computer. So with the Astros, you can plug the USB into the second computer and get the sound feed from the air traffic control program, and plug the digital out from the main computer into the headphones, and also get the simulator sound. And by using this DAC connector, which splits the digital audio, you can also connect that to the last gadget hardware I'm going to talk about, which is some form of butt kicker. So butt kicker was a late addition. It was another one of the items that moved in and out of my basket when I was buying it. I think they are quite expensive for what they are, but in my opinion they add again real value to the immersion. And I've got 2 different types of butt kicker. So the butt kicker is simply a vibrating system that attaches to the chair and transfers the vibration of the plane to improve that realism and immersion. So this is called the Thumper. So this is actually designed for a drum kit. It's designed for drummers and musicians. It's not actually designed, I don't think, for a simulator. It's slightly cheaper than the butt kicker, but it works fine. It's really effective. And what I've done is to avoid the wires trailing everywhere, I've added a connector on each end of the wire and I use this little retractable dog lead just to hold it in place, and then it pulls out and connects onto the butt kicker on the chair. That's all I've got for you today, and I'll catch you next time.